Welcome back to Explaining Everything, the channel where we break down the science, the engineering, and the sometimes ridiculous tech that keeps the world moving. Today's question comes from one of our awesome viewers at PurringBiscuit02. Thanks for hitting the brakes on this one. You ask, what's the difference between truck brakes and train brakes? It's a great question, because while both are massive machines carrying ridiculous loads, one can screech to a smoky stop at a red light, while the other needs a whole zip code to even think about slowing down. Today, we are diving deep into how these two giants stop in their tracks and why their braking systems couldn't be more different. Stick around as we put the brakes on confusion, right here on Explaining Everything. Let's set the scene. Imagine you're driving a pickup truck and need to stop for a red light. Easy, quick tap on the brakes. All good. Now, imagine that pickup truck is instead a 40-ton semi-hauling frozen turkeys, or a 15,000-ton freight train carrying enough coal to power a small city. Suddenly, stopping isn't just comfort, it's life or death physics. Both trucks and trains carry insane amounts of momentum, but they solve the stopping problem in very different ways. Rubber-on-asphalt grip versus steel-on-steel efficiency sets the stage for their braking showdown. It's the difference between hitting the gym with sneakers versus trying it in socks on ice. One's got grip, the other, not so much. And that's why engineers obsess over brakes, because once these giants get moving, stopping them is like trying to pause a stampede with a polite, "Excuse me." Physics doesn't negotiate. Most trucks, especially the big 18-wheelers, use air brakes. Here's how they work. The driver presses the brake pedal. Compressed air shoots through pipes, pushes a diaphragm inside a chamber, which then moves rods that squeeze brake shoes onto a drum or disc. Boom! Friction, stopping power, and hopefully no drama. Why air instead of hydraulic fluid, like cars? Safety. If a car's fluid leaks, you're toast. But air brakes are fail-safe. If there's a leak, the brakes actually lock up automatically. They're also quick. Unless there's a super long airline, when a trucker hits the pedal, the response is basically instant. It's like having the world's angriest set of lungs blasting air just to make sure your 18 wheels stay under control. That quick response can make the difference between stopping safely or turning a highway into a pileup. And truckers train hard to master braking smoothly so they don't send their cargo flying through the cab. Now, trains also use air brakes, but they're built differently. George Westinghouse invented this system in the 1860s, probably after getting tired of seeing trains plow through things. Here's the setup. The locomotive keeps a long brake pipe pressurized with air. Each car has its own little air tank and brake cylinder. To stop, the engineer reduces air pressure in the pipe, and each car uses its stored air to clamp its brakes. It's genius, because if the train breaks apart or loses pressure, every car automatically slams the brakes. Fail-safe at its finest. The catch? It's slow. On a mile-long train, the signal takes seconds to travel from the front to the back. The engineer pulls the brake. The front cars obey quickly, but the rear ones are basically like, "Wait, what? Oh, we're stopping? Okay, fine." That lag is why engineers have to plan miles ahead when slowing down. For trains, Stopping isn't an emergency maneuver. It's a carefully scheduled event. Here's a jaw dropper. A fully loaded semi-truck at highway speeds can stop in about 200 feet if the driver's on point. A freight train at the same speed? Try a mile or more. And that's with the brakes fully engaged. Why so different? Physics. Rubber tires grip asphalt way better than smooth steel wheels grip smooth rails. Trains sacrifice traction to reduce rolling resistance, which makes moving massive loads easier, but stopping them is a nightmare. Basically, a truck can stop at a red light. A train? It needs to RSVP for that stop a whole town in advance. It's why train crossings have big warning times. Because if you're on the tracks and a train's coming, it's not slowing down for you. And truckers? They envy trains' efficiency, but not their braking delay. Brakes turn motion into heat, and too much heat is the enemy. Truck brakes can overheat on long downhills. That's why runaway truck ramps exist. Drivers also use engine braking to take the load off. Trains? They've got a trick called dynamic braking, where the motors flip into generators and burn off energy as heat in rooftop resistor grids. Imagine a train slowing down with giant hairdryers on its roof. Both trucks and trains have fail-safes too. Trucks lock up if the air pressure drops too low, while trains have emergency brakes that slam every car at once. It's dramatic, but it works. And the sound difference? Trucks hiss like an angry cat, shh, while trains let out a deep collective sigh, like they've just realized how much paperwork they have to do. Those sounds aren't just dramatic. They're cues for operators that the systems are working as designed. In a way, even the hiss and sigh are part of the safety dance. So, what's the difference between truck brakes and train brakes? Trucks, quick, responsive, air-powered, built for rubber on-road grip. Trains, slower to respond, air-powered over long pipes, built for steel-on-steel efficiency and absolute fail-safe reliability. Both turn tons of moving metal into a standstill, but their designs reflect their worlds. One needs to stop at a stoplight, the other at the horizon. So next time you see a semi screech to a smoky halt or a train take its sweet time slowing down, you'll know exactly why. One's in a hurry and the other is still thinking about it. If you like this video, hit that like button and subscribe. Also, if you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for tuning in and join us next time here in the channel that answers all the why, what, who, where, and how questions you've always wondered about, here on Explaining Everything.